All right, let's talk about Syria and Russia again. This story seems to be changing as we go. So Trump earlier this evening made it clear. He said that we are not going into Syria. This was during an interview. He said, quote, "When I see people using horrible chemical weapons, which they agreed not to use under the Obama administration, then they violated what I did should have been done by the Obama administration a long time before I did it. And I think Syria would have been a lot better off than it has been." So this is his take. In the midst of saying this, however, he's making it clear that we are not going into Syria. Now, this contradicts what Rex Tillerson, Secretary of State, is saying. This even contradicts what Nikki Haley, the UN, the ambassador to the UN, this contradicts what she's saying. So it's really not clear in terms of what is actually going to happen in Syria. What is clear is that there is a disjointed, disconnected, and chaotic foreign policy coming from the Trump administration. Now, we said last week, though, it's very possible that this strike was going to be a limited strike. I believed it to be so, particularly because of how they executed it, the fact that they notified Russia, and in some ways got tacit approval from Russia, because if Russia had said, we're going to leave our troops there, then that would have been a hardline stance. So to me, it seemed as though this could have been a one-off warning shot to Assad. And this is essentially what Donald Trump is saying it's going to be. It remains to be seen what this is going to be, because Eric Trump, actually, and I'm pulling Eric Trump in here because the absurdity. We floated this idea yesterday that it could have been Ivanka Trump's pain and sorrow at seeing the images from Syria that got us in there in the first place. Well, it actually was confirmed by Eric Trump today, who said that this is what pushed Donald Trump over the edge. I bring that up in context because there is no coherent foreign policy here. If he is being moved by the emotions and the whims of his closest inner circle, that's not a foreign policy. That's just a dad trying to show off to his daughter at the expense of lives in Syria, putting our troops' lives at risk, and about $100 million worth of missiles. Screw the missiles. I'm thinking about the dollars and what we could have done with that. So there's no coherent policy. So for Trump to say this afternoon that we're not going into Syria, I can't really hold on to that. Like, ideally, that would be great. I would hope for that. Yeah, let's stop here. It's a warning shot to Assad. Don't use chemical weapons. Boom. Let's call it a day. If he uses it again, then we have to address it at that point. I would love for this to be the end of the story, but that's not necessarily how the story is going to end, because he does not have a foreign policy paradigm, policy position. It's chaotic, and it seems to go on a whim. It could go, if Ivanka gets upset tomorrow, who are we going to attack tomorrow? All right, so that's the first part of this. The second part of the story is it's polling data that is really stark, coming from the Washington Post ABC poll. And you'll see it on your screen here. 37% actually, let's start with Republicans. In 2013, 22% of Republicans supported Obama's proposed strikes against the Assad regime for using chemical weapons. In 2017, 86%, a swing of 64% of Republicans support Trump's missile strikes. All right. If we flip it on the Democratic side, we'll see that in 2013, 38% of Democrats supported Obama's plan to strike Assad. In 2017, 37% of Democrats support Donald Trump's missile strikes. So there is a gross level of inconsistency with Republicans with regard to the strike, and a surprising amount of consistency with the Democrats. I'm going to guess that 37% represents the neoconservative branch of the Democratic Party. But the consistency is refreshing. That's all I could say. It is amazingly refreshing to see that the Democrats who opposed it in 2013, the overwhelming number of Democrats who opposed it in 2013 still oppose it now, and the same Democrats who supported it in 2013, it didn't matter. This really shirks and undermines the football team narrative of politics, right? The football team narrative of politics, and this is just one anecdote, right? It doesn't undermine the overwhelming theory, right? But it does, in this case, it's very surprising because you would expect the Democrats to flip the way Republicans did. 22% supported Obama in 2013 with regard to Assad. What was it? 84% or 80, I have it right here in front of me. 86%. 86% support Trump. So you would expect that type of flip-flop, but the Democrats didn't flip on it. The Democrats who were polled this is within the margin of error. 37% in 2013, 38% in 2018. Surprisingly, I was shocked. I'm completely taken aback by that because I'm so used to people supporting something when their president does it and then opposing it when their opponent's president does it. That's usually the paradigm that I've witnessed over the last, I don't know, since 2000, at least since 2000. And of course, historically, we can go back and see other examples of that. But this was a refreshing change of events. So with regard to Syria, Democrats are still overwhelmingly opposed to it. The missile strike. I want to know what's going to happen when if Donald Trump actually takes us to Syria. Again, I don't know if that's the case. He said that we're not going in. He said that this afternoon before the show began. But he does not have a coherent foreign policy. So it's very possible that he could wake up tomorrow morning and feel entirely different about it. The White House, the White House itself has accused the Russian government of engaging in a cover-up of the chemical weapons. This is from a 4-page declassified document that details U.S. intelligence and the chemical weapons attack. It details Russia's knowledge of it and actively attempting to cover it up. So with this information hanging over the White House and Donald Trump not having a coherent foreign policy, it's very possible that the same neoconservatives, neocons who support him going, the John McCain's of the world, the Lindsey Grahams of the world, they want him to go further. It's very possible that he could be swayed into going further. It remains to be seen.